Aloha. I wanted to make a video in reference to the last video, and also just kind of piece it all together as the bigger pictures and the smaller pictures, and the smaller picture actually being the bigger picture. But the bigger picture, what we understand as the bigger pictures on like the television and the world circuits and all that other stuff, the stuff that we get really emotional about, is actually the design to keep us from realizing that the bigger picture, our inner picture, is the biggest picture and the only picture there really is. It's the ultimate picture, the connection to the Most High Space, your spirit, your soul, the moment, the non-separated version, energetically, vibratorily, the excuse me, the frequency connection that we are, that is beyond the physical reality. Understanding that the physical reality is just a 0.00001% of our actual soul expression. This is why the university system is largely based upon atheism, separation from spirit, separation from even entertaining that idea that you are a soul, but in fact glorifying and worshiping the physical vessel as if it's the end-all be-all, amplifying it by the Big Bang, Stardust, Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, monkey evolution, transhumanism pushing agenda that is just placed on the people as mandatory. See, this is I just wanted to space it out because it's really the essence of the entire story that we exist as, is the distraction. So like, the globe model is a distraction from the earth plane. Why? To separate you from realizing the creative intelligence, period. For starters. Because once you understand your creative intelligence, you understand your meaning and purpose. If you have a meaning and a purpose, then you cannot be enslaved. That's it. It's just that simple when you really just kind of let go of all the other shit, like, oh yeah, gravity and all this other stuff. That's all still scientific and involved in the understanding of the physical reality. But when you leave it, the actual heart of the matters, usually every heart of any matter is always going to be very simple. It's very simple to understand things. When you see people in power, entities in power, when you see people enslaved, souls enslaved, then you can understand that there's a basic disconnect there that needs to be understood. And it has nothing to do with like any kind of scientific models and all that other shit. That stuff comes way later. It's basically the haves and the have-nots. The information. The people who have information, the people who don't have information. The information pertaining to your soul, not the information pertaining to the limited constructs of the physical reality. We have been duped into realizing or believing that our physical reality is it. That's it. Once you are duped into that space, just like if you are duped into fear in a dream space, you will not experience the rest of that dream. You won't face those challenges. You won't understand those lessons. You won't grow. You won't expand. So when we get bombarded by fear, this is why all these shootings happen. All these shootings are happening, are being televised and amplified to sell in this emotional trigger in a sense. So when the so-called powers that be pull that trigger and release that energy, they release it. This is all negative energy. It's basically, so it's like potential and kinetic energy. The potential energy is your emotion space. So you understand like basic potential and kinetic energy. Potential energy is just that energy that's in like a spring or a rubber band that gets pulled back. That's potential energy. You're pulling, you're holding that energy and pulling that rubber band back as far as it can go, or pushing that spring down as far as you can push it. And then when you're ready to make that move, then these are the powers that be who are pulling this emotional tether, this emotional spring, this emotional rubber band. They are pushing this information, this energy, these emotional frequencies into the masses. So when they let it go, it'll be pointing in the direction that will land right where they planned it. And it's going to be in this international New World agenda perspective. Same thing goes with Trump and Hillary. It's like pulling a potential energy rubber band or a spring, pushing it all the way down. Because just like when you listen to those commercials, like a Burger King commercial that comes on Pandora all the time talking about that damn hot dog, selling a hot dog with song, do, we love this new grilled hot dog. Like that's not normal. You won't meet anybody that's like, I love this new grilled chili cheese hot dog. Nobody loves a fucking hot dog that much. It's selling you something that is so out of the norm, just so you will fall somewhere in between that out of the norm and wherever it is they would like you to land, which is hopefully in a fucking drive-through ordering a grilled hot dog with chili cheese on it. Like that's no different than Barack Obama speaking to the United Nations, talking about freedom and security, which I'll get into in a second. And the implosion of the political scene with the mainstream media going down, and also placing Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump out there to play the individuals that could be your leaders. It's ridiculous. It's no different than Bush. So they had shitty Bush shitting his pants for the United States for all that time. And then they had to sell you something good, some kind of biscuit. So that was Obama. 8 years, shut everybody up. And he just shitted on everybody else again. But he was setting the platform for what's coming up now, which is this international excuse me, international talk. And while he's talking about just underneath the surface, this international talk, this new world, new age agenda stuff, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are supposed to be representing the fall, like the mainstream. He's representing the alternative news / the new age, new world. So this is how this correlates into like how we individually understand our reality. All of this exists inside the illusion, inside the separation program. Every single thing, every little detail in that is part of that separation from this image of what you're seeing right now. Every single part of it is to keep you out of your power. This is why we call them the so-called powers that be, because it's all an illusion. Because the actual power is already understood by the ancestors, our ancient civilizations, which is why the colonial program is still going on today and expanding today. It wasn't separated. It wasn't like Mexico and Egypt and Cambodia and Cusco. Like, no, this was a colonization program. You got the British flag on Polynesian land, in Hawaii, in New Zealand, America, Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, all these have been colonized. South America taken over by the Spanish, slaughtered. Before all this happened, filled with sickness and disease, before all this stuff happened, there was a connection between the people. Not saying everything was perfect, but there was a connection, a spiritual connection, an understanding, a natural connection and understanding between the people, within the people, that allowed us to have a connection to nature and in each other in various cultures, the understanding of the beauty of our diversity and the magic that exists within this place that we are inhabiting. These souls are inhabiting right now. There's a math, a geometry, an alchemy to who and what we are and where we are. This is why the scientific version of the university system, the atheism program, the separation from spirit is so prevalent right now and so interwoven into the so-called powers that be system. So it can have something to back it up. And then you have Neil deGrasse Tyson with his big ego. Oh, I'm not even going to entertain that. That's just nonsense. That's just poppycock. We're not even going to talk about that stuff. And Bill Nye being asked questions about the flat earth. Oh, get out of here. That's just, you guys are silly. Answering kids' questions on Big Think like he's the big fucking end all be all about everything. Telling people, carry on. Fucking, it's a total mind control program to get you separated from your ancestors, from your true history. That's why the university system will never talk about actual history. Everybody is vibration. These chakras are vibrations. They have a frequency. When you are locked in to a particular version of your connection to nature, that is based upon fast food information, the university system, the globe model, transhumanism technology, the electric version for completely separating from the balances, the harmonics of nature. All of that stuff, CERN technology, or even if that's technology at all, they could just be saying anything. If you're completely locked into that version of reality, that's playing with the vibrations of every single energy center that you are. It's obviously disconnecting you from your root chakra, the psychological programming of the sexual programming, the beating down of the sexism program, the beating down of the divine feminine, the beating down of the divine masculine. That is a separation from your sacral chakra. The beating down, the installing of fear and the lack of power, shooting people on the street, lynching people on the streets, unarmed, innocent people, and then having those people get away with it, that creates a powerless, helpless, hopeless state that shuts down your individual and collective willpower. Your digestion, your stomach brain gets shut down. The essence that you are gets shut out when you experience this stuff and can't do anything about it. This is why these things are happening right now. And those lower bodies get manipulated on a regular basis through the frequency of television, news, social media, alternative news, so-called conscious communities. These limited perspectives, information itself is a vibration. And your vibrations get shut out completely. Because once you start getting into the heart of the matters, once you start understanding the connection to your ancestors, the love and compassion, the connection to the people, to culture, to your true history, that's when you start opening up the higher chakras. And once you start getting into that space, that's the bridge to your soul essence. See, we get locked down into the fear-driven, sexually programmed, reproductive programmed, artificial love journey and lack of connection to nature reality. That's what we get locked into, these lower chakras. And once we get locked into that space and start to worship that, you are basically worshiping the vessel and separating yourself from the essence. So getting into the throat chakra out after you've, so the New Age agenda is meant to demonize the physical reality. Oh, just get into your third eye. It's all about your third eye and connecting with aliens and extraterrestrials and the future and spaceships and peace and love and light, and that's it. That's setting up for the lack of understand. That's setting up for the next control grid, which is what I'll get into right now. So the next control grid is going to be this peace-driven control grid, so-called peace-driven. But like I said in the last video, we have to do this. If we're not doing this as a people, individually and collectively as a people, without the so-called powers that be, see, they're going to manipulate it to look and feel the way the power grid would need in order to maintain power. So that's what the New Age is all about, to keep people separate from understanding the true connections to their lower bodies. And so basically their lower bodies, the physical reality of the lower chakras, the lower three chakras, get manipulated into a robotic or a mechanical, a computer version of your reality. And then the higher chakras just get synthesized into this artificial version of reality. So you have a robotic lower body, which is the transhumanism program, a lack of connection to the heart chakra, and a limited connection to your higher chakras, if at all, because it largely is based upon the artificial ego of thinking your chakras into activating. Because if you truly don't have a space activated on your on your root chakra, if you don't have the roots, if the tree doesn't have any roots, then you are not going to be able to produce any fruit. You're not going to be able to receive the energy from your experience as a whole. And it'll all be an illusion. And this is what the system is banking on, this illusion. So this is why I said the new world agenda is the New Age agenda. And it's playing with your vibrations. This is why you have Oprah and Deepak Chopra talking about, consciousness and all this. This is why you have Eckhart Tolle on Oprah's show, and Oprah moving to her own network and then talking about like Super Soul Sunday and all this stuff. This is this artificial stuff, like fake guru shit. The information matters on some level, like you can understand it and it has a meaning. But if that information has no root structure, then it really doesn't make any difference. And in fact, it'll be more dangerous because it means more to you. So that means you will follow more of whoever's telling you that information or following that information. You'll just follow it. See, your energy, your soul essence is not about following. Your soul essence is about doing your work. And as everybody is doing their work together, the natural balance of who and what we all are will become obvious. But this system is not about becoming who you truly are. It's about being part of the system and adjusting who you truly are to be welcomed or received by a cancerous system. And it's all about playing with vibration, frequency. So nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates at the most fundamental level of the universe, and everything which comprises is It is pure vibratory energy manifesting itself in different ways. The universe has no solidity as such. Matter is merely energy in a state of vibration. So if you can control the mind, the vibration of the pineal gland, the vibration of your heart brain, the vibration of the stomach brain, food, covering up the stomach brain, grief, guilt, separation, covering up and enslaving the heart brain, fluoride, and manipulated versions of your intellect, shelling your pineal brain, your connection to beyond. Your sacral brain being manipulated to be completely and utterly consumed by the physical reality as your love connection or your partner connection or whatever it is, all physically connected. That's ridiculous, but it exists that way. Your root brain being shut down by destroying the entire earth plane, having zero connection to your ancestors, zero connection to the natural law, zero connections to spirit. That is a destroying of your root brain. And that sets the root structure and the shockwave to everything. So basically what I wanted to share is this is Barack Obama's final speech to the United Nations as president. So this is basically stop saying basically. I can't get that. I don't know why I've been saying that word recently. It's annoying. Anyway, it's done. I'm going to stop it. So, this being Barack Obama's last speech to the United Nations is a big deal. Knowing that the next agenda will involve the United Nations, which is also why I'm feeling like the flat earth will be activated in some kind of mainstream way. Obviously, if they have a flat earth map on the United Nations, and the United Nations is being manipulated to be part of this new world agenda or ahead of it or whatever. And then if you were to listen to its entire speech, then you'll see what I'm talking about. But I just wanted to kind of breeze through it so you can see what I'm talking about. So President Obama on Tuesday delivered his final address to the United Nations General Assembly, calling on leaders to work together and criticizing those who seek simple rejection of global integration. Calling on leaders to work together, understanding that their actual leaders, one of their leaders running for the next leader, actually took out a leader in Libya who was already working to help Africa get back on its feet, on its golden feet. Now you want to come around talking about calling on leaders to work together and criticizing those who seek a simple rejection of global integration. I don't believe progress is possible if our desire to preserve our identities gives way to an impulse to dehumanize or dominate another group. If our religion leads us to persecute those of another faith, we jail or beat people who are gay. If our traditions lead us to prevent girls from going to school, if we discriminate on the basis of race or tribe or ethnicity, then the fragile bonds of civilization will fray, Obama said. This is why all these shootings are being televised even more. This is why Trump is out there being his natural, ridiculous, racist self. He came out the gates calling Mexicans murderers and rapists. It's a movie. Obama keeps going, says the world is too small. We are packed. We are too packed together for us to be able to resort to those old ways of thinking. So it's a locking into the old and the new. This is what this is, the old ways of thinking and the new ways of thinking. So the new ways of thinking are the New World Agenda. And the New World Agenda is based around, obviously, global integration. This global integration is this artificial new age bullshit that is going to be the new world order. United Nations will be the root structure for that. Obama will definitely be a part of that. And the implosion of United States politics, which is the head of the beast, the head of Rome, of the colonization program, which he will claim doesn't exist anymore, which is why it's being imploded. Just like the mainstream media. Same thing happened to Fox and all that other stuff. So, let's skip through. I wanted to only see where he was talking about freedom. So, moreover, the collapse of colonialism and communism. So, he's linking colonialism and communism together. The collapse of colonialism and communism. As if colonial, he's saying, so he's just like, it's very intricate how these words get placed. Collapse and colonialism. Colonialism is not collapsed. It's still going. Has allowed more people than ever before to live with the freedom to choose their leaders. That was a lie. Maury Povich. Despite the real and troubling areas where freedom appears in retreat, the fact remains that the number of democracies around the world has nearly doubled in the last 25 years, as if that democracy matters, knowing that they take out leaders on a regular basis. What was that book? I can't remember the name of that book. I can see I read it a while ago. I can see the cover. It's basically about the guy who used to work for the CIA, and his job was to really just go to leaders of other nations and persuade them to be part of the agenda that the United States was pushing, or they'd be taken out. I can't remember the name of that book. There's probably a lot of books like that name now, but this is basically what it was. So now the next freedom hit. Now I will admit my belief that governments serve the individual and not the other way around. False. Is shaped by America's story. Our nation began with a promise of freedom that applied only to the few. But because of our democratic constitution, because of our Bill of Rights, because of our ideals, our ordinary people were able to organize, march, and protest, and ultimately those ideals won out. False. Open doors for women and minorities and workers in ways that made our economy more productive and turned our diversity into a strength. False. That gave innovators the chance to transform every area of human endeavor. That made it possible for someone like me to be elected President of the United States. See, that's exactly why he was selected to be the President of the United States. So they could say all this shit. Someone like me, a black man, to be president. His existence in that's the only reason why he was put in there was to be able to say that little paragraph right there, to back up the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, our ideals, and everything in the past that Trump is talking about, this "Make America Great Again" shit. When America was so-called great, it was only great for the few that he mentions in here. And it was fucking slavery and horrible for the masses, for everybody else. Moreover, every country will organize its governments informed by centuries of history and the circumstances of geography and the deeply held beliefs of its people. So I recognize that traditional society may value unity and cohesion more than a diverse country like my own, which was founded upon what at the time was a radical idea, the idea of the liberty of individual human beings endowed with a certain God-given rights. This is an illusion to set up today the next level of enslavement. Now that we are distracted by technology and addicted to it and enslaved by it and enslaved by the system itself, the codependency program, the separation from spirit as a whole, understanding that politics is the only thing that's going to matter. That's our maximum potential. Since we came from monkey evolution, these are the smartest monkeys. We have to vote for the smartest monkeys. The smartest monkeys made the iPhone 7. How dare you go against the smartest monkeys? What's wrong with you? The smartest monkeys gave you the university system. The smartest monkeys gave you your freedom. How dare you? I know my neighbor might be able to hear me, and it's just like, what the hell is that guy talking about? Shit. But that does not mean that ordinary people in Asia or Africa or the Middle East somehow prefer arbitrary rule that denies them a voice in the decisions that can shape their lives. I believe that spirit is universal. And if any of you doubt the universality of that desire, listen to the voices of young people everywhere who call out for freedom and dignity and the opportunity to control their lives. Whatever. That's that Bernie program shit. And then he goes into the next one. And we can only realize the promise of the institution's founding to replace the ravages of war with cooperation. If this is linguistic alchemy, this is on a collective scale to make you think, to program you, calibrate your brain, every energetic brain that you have, to accept this program. If powerful nations like my own accept constraints, so let me repeat that and start. And we can only realize the promise of this institution's founding. So he's talking about the founding fathers, like the freedom that they intended on. Now he's saying we can only realize the promise of this institution's founding to replace the ravages of war with cooperation if powerful nations like my own accept constraints. So he's saying like the constraints that they put on you to give more power to the police system, to the political system, to all that. He's now saying that we should do that nationally, internationally. And he's saying basically my country's, the main one. We need to start constraining ourselves. To what? To who? This is who. Sometimes I'm criticized in my own country for professing a belief in international norms and multilateral institutions. This is that New World, New Age shit. But I am convinced, so he's playing like I'm even brought down for even talking about peace on an international level. They criticize me. So I'm the victim. I'm the guy who's talking about international change. They just want to be in power all the time. This is that next agenda shit. But I am convinced that in the long run, giving up some freedom of action, so that can be replaced with giving up freedoms, not giving up our ability to protect ourselves or pursue our core interests. So that's to soften the next space and to soften the last space, not by saying not giving up our ability to protect ourselves or pursue our core interests, so basically stay the same, but give up our freedoms, illusion of freedoms, but binding ourselves to international rules over the long term. This is how it gets sold. Enhances our security. And I think that's not just true for us. That's true for the whole world. That's what he's saying. So now he's saying in the next space, if Russia continues to interfere in the affairs of its neighbors, it may be popular at home. It may fuel nationalist fervor for a time, but over time, it is also going to diminish its stature and make its borders less secure. So he's saying, we're really bad. We're really bad. And we're willing and should give up some of our illusory freedoms for the betterment of international security. And Russia's really bad too. You know, I mean, their borders are fucked up just like ours. So, you know, they're pretty some jerks too. Putin, that dude's a jerk. So it's not just us. They gotta stop. And since we are the biggest superpowers, and China will come along too, then, you know, we should all just stop doing what we're doing and become one international cool crew. It's the same program, the NASA program, like China's space program, Russia's space program, the United States space program. They're all in cahoots. It's all about control. That's for psychological control. So just as easily as they can all team up and lie to your face and do these grand videos and articles about how they went to the moon and their studies about stars that are light years away and all this shit, and you know, collaborate on their, you know, secret space station or international space station. That's all international space bullshit. So if they can lie to your face like that, this is the way the international lie gets expanded on the ground level, on the root structure. By playing the victim, playing the bad guys at the same time to promote this illusion of change, this illusion of freedom, and this illusion of security, when they themselves are the ones perpetrating the entire separation program on every level. So it's basically what I wanted to share with this video. I wanted to relate like the bigger, I said basically again, shit. I wanted to relate the bigger pictures and the smaller pictures and tie in this new age, new world agenda, international United Nations shit that's being pumped and amplified, and how Obama's definitely a part of it. And I've been saying this for some videos back, and I still think that the flat earth will be a part of it, and it'll be this new science, because if they bring the flat earth into the mainstream, they're going to have to science the shit out of it, and if they have to science the shit out of it, it's going to be a new education system, it's going to be a new this, a new that. They're going to have to talk about some kind of creative intelligence, so that's going to be the new religion. It's going to be on and on and on. So that's that new religion part is going to be this watered down version of everything, basically, like this international religion, or let's just unify all the religions. That's what this whole program is based upon. That's the Oprah the Oprah network and the Deepak Chopra and the Western yoga. That's what this whole shit is about. It's about watering down the ancient so you can accept the illusory future and the illusory monkey mind presence and your monkey leaders. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.